Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Ingraham Angle. Tonight, we're going to take stock of what we're grateful for and not so grateful for in this year of the Trump presidency. And we're going to talk to my Fox colleagues about how to avoid, at all costs, Thanksgiving political fights. And we're going to celebrate America's economic comeback, thank goodness, and other highs and some lows of the year. And we begin tonight with some of the cultural battles that have been raging around us, especially in the entertainment business. We're very grateful for the transparency that we've seen on the Hollywood front. And at least now we know a bit more about the people who have created the films and those TV shows that have helped transform our culture, and sometimes not in such great ways. To celebrate the best and condemn the worst, I'm joined by broadcaster and New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series for kids, Raymond Arroyo. So, Raymond, happy Thanksgiving. Let's get right to it. In the wake of all these scandals at in Hollywood, we got Harvey Weinstein, we got now John Lasseter of Pixar, which breaks your heart because we love Finding Dory and all these great films. What is the? Let's start with the bad news first.
Okay, we'll start with the bad so we can work to something good.
Let's start with what we're not grateful for, because I think people have to be aware of what's coming down the pipe.
Well,
here.
There's a new movie that is getting Oscar buzz like crazy. Armie Hammer is the lead. He plays a 24-year-old man. Rolling Stone is hailing this as the most romantic movie of the year. He is a 24-year-old man who has an affair with a 17-year-old boy. Now, at a time when people are saying Roy Moore should get out, they're rending garments over accusations of relationships with younger people, why would Hollywood at this moment be championing a movie like this?
Oh, I'm looking at the thing, a knockout, sublime, yeah. all the reviews of the film. It is interesting that would be.
Oh no, it's like the out of Africa of this odd offbeat relationship, but. And it's very explicit, I'm told. I haven't seen it, but I've read about it. Why they would promote this at this moment in history, I don't understand.
In most jurisdictions, that would be statutory rape or molestation of a child, right, or a minor, not a child in this case, a teenager. Yeah. And that's a real problem. But that goes back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the show, that the content of what we see generated from, whether it's on the internet or Hollywood, New York, advertising, that does tell us, what we've become as a culture, and it tells you a lot about the people who are making it and what's inside of them. I mean, when I'm a Christian, we're all sinners, but what we put out as far as the product, the work product, that tells you what's going on inside of you, and to some degree.
Well, all of these revelations that we've seen in recent days, they do show us something, and hopefully it points to something more positive, and we can do something more positive. But why this would exist, why they'd be raising flags when they're trying to take Harvey Weinstein's name off of films he's already produced, I don't understand that.
And then there are other accusations. Of course, the Kevin Spacey story keeps getting worse, and that's an older man in some cases with younger men and them in compromising positions. So that is.
So is this a good thing or a bad thing? I just want to get what is Hollywood's opinion on this. That's all we want to know.
Well, if Kevin Spacey's losing all opportunities, and maybe he was just looking for a love connection, I guess some people could argue that.
I guess.
All right, but it's not all bad out there.
No, it's not.
We're grateful for some really good moments in entertainment. What about the films, let's say, Gary Oldman, who is such a great talent. Steve Urbanski and he worked together. Steve's an old friend. The Darkest Hour. Tell us about this. Now, this should be out.
This is incredible. This is Gary Oldman really disappearing into Winston Churchill. And it's when Churchill assumes the prime ministership and then leads his country really through rhetoric, through the war. And it's a nice tie-in with one of my favorite movies of the year, Dunkirk, which was Christopher Nolan's beautiful, epic depiction of that World War II evacuation. 350,000 people evacuated. And it was about common men, everyday people, risking and sacrificing for the benefit of their country.
And they're still doing it today for us.
You bet.
Another thing we're grateful for, the men and women in uniform who don't, they don't get a lot of credit during the year. I mean, they don't make much money, but they just do the hard work that a lot of us don't do, and they do it for us and for our freedom and our missions around the world. My brother Brooks always says, is there any other war we're ever going to make movies about? That was like World War II. We're the only good war. I mean, we don't do anything on Korea. We've done nothing on
Hacksaw Ridge was about
Hacksaw Ridge, but not a lot. So we always seem to go back to World War II.
I know.
But The Darkest Hour, unbelievable.
Incredible.
And Gary is just incredible. What about The Star? That's another film that I want to take my kids to, correct?
Absolutely. A great family film.
We're grateful for this film.
It celebrates the nativity, but it's through the eyes of the animals who are surrounding the Holy Family. It's fun. It's light. Devon Franklin, an old pal in Hollywood, produced this film. Everybody from Oprah to Patty Heaton to Tyler Perry lend their voices here. It's a lot of fun. And by the way, the funniest movie of the season, it's a little offbeat. It's not for everybody. Daddy's Home 2. You will scream from top to bottom. I have to I'm grateful for that.
Okay, wait.
Because I needed a laugh.
Mel Gibson's in it. Who else?
Mel Gibson, John Lithgow, Mark Wahlberg, and Will Ferrell. Hilarious. Great movie.
Okay,
and Mel
that's in theaters now.
Yep.
And Gibson steals the picture.
Totally.
I thought he wasn't going to act anymore. Mel's now back. He's
like Cher. I'm going away, but I'm back again.
Okay, on the negative, we have to go back to one other thing. Because
you have to drag us back into the negative.
Because Raymond and his wife dragged themselves to see Barbra Streisand.
Guilty.
Was it last year?
This year. She did 13 concert stops on a tour. And it's now on Netflix.
Okay, first of all, Barbra Streisand said she was retiring. What was it, 10 years ago? She's never going to perform. It's like the going out of business sale for the Oriental Rug stores all over Washington. We've lost our lease, going out of business, last chance now, and then 6 months later, they're still there. Well, so she's still performing. Is this really it for her?
She claims this is her last concert tour, and you know what? Thank the Lord for that. I'm thankful for that. Netflix subscribers will now be able to see what it cost me $500 to learn that even legendary voices and talents sometimes are sleepwalking, and when the legend exceeds the passion, it's not worth the ticket price. This is a sleepy thing. I mean, she goes through the motions of the music, but it's almost like she's preening, and like we should be thankful that she just showed up.
Walking up on
stage. But no passion, no connection with the audience, cold as ice, and you'll see that in the Netflix special.
So has funny girl just become tired girl?
Jaded girl. Jaded girl.
People who need
my
retirement.
Money. Yeah,
yes,
that's
okay.
well.
We got
no,
it. All right.
It's one to
now we have a lot to be grateful for the performers, sadly, that we lost this year, and there's so many. It seems like the end of every year, you can't believe all the people you've lost. But some of them, Fats Domino, Glenn Campbell, Tom Petty. We'll hear a little from them.
Roads by the rivers of my memory, and for hours you're just gentle on my mind.
Now, each of them in their own way, different genres, although Tom Petty was a big fan of Fats Domino. Right. Of course, the Beatles love Fats Domino.
The Rolling Stones.
And, of course, we have to say to Raymond, New Orleanian.
Okay,
yeah, Fats Domino.
A fellow New Orleanian who never left town. He was a humble man, lived in a little place. It got flooded out in Katrina. He rebuilt it. He stayed in New Orleans his whole life.
I believe he never read music. He was, it's all by ear.
And a joyous performer. He's the anti-Streisand. I saw him as an old man. He was playing it. It was like it was 1954 again. Amazing.
Some fun facts that people might not know about Tom Petty. Everyone thinks it won't back down, but the catalog of Tom Petty is one of the best-selling performers of all time. 80 million records sold.
Wow.
His guitar teacher, Don Felder, went on to be part of that small, little-known band called the Eagles from Gainesville, Florida. Just never be another one like him. A huge loss for rock and roll. And he was performing.
And, of course, Glenn
Campbell, session guitar player. I've had the chance to interview him a few times on radio. Wow. He had a lot of struggles in his life.
He did.
He talked about his demons, drinking, problems, of course, in his personal life.
He was a sessions guitarist for Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Elvis, everybody. But those three men really capture the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
And 90s. And Tom Petty went to 90s, still performing. Of course, he played with Traveling Wilburys, Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne, and George Harrison. This is you don't get much bigger than that group. We also lost some giants this year in the world of acting and film. Martin Landau, John Hurt, Sam Shepard, one of the great American playwrights, although Raymond will disagree with me on that.
A little bit.
Comic legend. And let's talk about Don Rickles and Jerry Lewis. And Jerry's real name, of course, was
Joseph Levitch.
Yep. And you interviewed him.
I interviewed him
a number of
one
times.
of the last times, and I asked him about Joseph Levitch and how he referred to himself in all those films that we all love and know.
Let's watch.
Watch this. When you're talking about what you did, particularly the characters you played,
Yeah.
you often refer to that person as
The idiot.
The idiot, the kid.
The silliness of the kid built tremendously important, serious work. The silliness of the kid created great work.
And Raymond, he was performing up until the age of
80, 84. He was still performing right up until the end. And, you know, people forget, Jerry Lewis created video assist. If you go to any film set, any television set today, you'll see video assist. It's the video playback they can play it back right after the take. Jerry Lewis created that in the 50s so he could watch himself and direct his own movies. Of course, his work on MDA, millions of dollars raised for those children, an incredible legacy, and what a great guy.
And finally, we lost, of course, as I said, Don Rickles.
Oh.
I am
Merchant of Venom.
the Merchant of Venom, the one person I really wanted to interview. I never had the chance.
Too.
It's one of my great regrets. Here's just a bit of his genius.
You just got married, Frank. I just can't picture him on the wedding night standing in the room going, and did it all, and I suppose it's my way. And Barbara, his wife, is going, Frank, when you get a minute.
He always went right in for the kill.
Oh,
on
no.
that. Like Raymond, when he walked out on stage, just take us back. He'd walk out on stage. He'd always go to the front row, and he'd say,
He'd find the fattest person in the room.
The fattest person
What
in the
you
room.
doing there, Tiny? Who's that with? That the wife? Oh, she. Ugh. And he'd do the whole routine, insult everybody.
Oh, no.
20 minutes of improv insults. The funniest live performer I think I've ever seen. Unbelievable.
And we are grateful for a lot. And a lot goes into it. A performance, a written script, on stage, music. They all bring different talents to the fore. But we're grateful for all of those giants who sadly are no longer with us. But we're glad they were with us for as long as they were. And Raymond Arroyo, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
I'm grateful to be here and to complain about Barbara Streisand and get a little bit for my $500.
People who need to get over it.
Need to get their money back.
Up next, why President Trump's critics should be eating a big slice of humble pie tomorrow. And later, my Fox colleagues will offer you tips for surviving that political fight around the table. Oh, stay with us. Welcome back to the Ingraham Angle. As we've been reporting, we should be thankful for the economic rebound that President Trump has helped usher in during his first year in office. This is not what the experts or Mr. Trump's critics predicted.
If the unlikely event happens and Trump wins, you will see a market crash of historic proportions.
In the event Donald wins, I have no doubt in my mind the market tanks. If the polls look like there's a decent chance that Donald could win, I'll put a huge hedge on that's over 100% of my equity positions and my bond position as well that protects me just in case he wins.
I'm worried about it. And, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm a free trader. TPP is good for American business. I think NAFTA was good for American business. But you can't get everything in life you want.
Unbelievable. I love those montages. I think I want just that for Christmas. I don't need anything else. Well, it hasn't turned out that way, has it? Everything hasn't cratered. The world hasn't come to an end. Unemployment is down. Blue-collar wages are rising. The stock market is booming. All because America First policies do work and not the problem all the experts were predicting. And in the latest sign of a booming economy, human resources officers from some 500 corporations are anticipating, get this, I saw this morning, a massive 66% increase in cash Christmas bonuses. That adds up to a big surge in gifts and parties and, frankly, happiness for American workers. You know, it's supposed to be the pursuit of happiness, too. That'd be nice. Even the president's lefty critics are coming around to the new realities. Our neighbors to the north at the Toronto Star, at least one prominent columnist, is noting this about the president's negotiations on trade in a piece titled, "Believe it or not, on NAFTA, Donald Trump makes sense." And in The Economist, this blaring headline, although it's kind of grudging, "Blue-collar wages are surging." Again, they don't want to give Trump credit, but I'll take the headline. So what about the never-Trumpers who only pay lip service to the will of the voters? Well, we're starting to get an idea of what they really think. Here's what Weekly Standard editor-at-large Bill Kristol tweeted out last night. He said, "The GOP tax bills bringing out my inner socialist. The sex scandals are bringing out my inner feminist. And Donald Trump and Roy Moore are bringing out my inner liberal." What's happening? Well, what's happening, Bill, is that we now can see that, you're not that conservative stalwart we thought you were before the election of Donald Trump. Well, this year has been filled with a lot of political revelations, and the people you thought you knew on the left and on the right are coming into clearer focus for many people. And as for President Trump's tweets, well, sometimes they can be a little bit self-destructive or distracting. That's true. But I say this, at least we now have an unvarnished view of what the leader of the free world really thinks about issues big and small. And I actually think that's kind of refreshing. And how many Twitter accounts can drive a news cycle all by their lonesome? And he has a direct conduit, a direct pipeline to the American people, which of course drives the old lamestream media nuts because they want to control the information you're getting. President Trump says, I'm going to have my say, and I'm going to go right to the people with it. Joining us now for reaction from Mobile, Alabama, my old friend Quinn Hillier, a contributing editor at National Review, and in New York, another old friend, no one's old, but your dear friends, Andy Stein, a Democrat and a former president of the New York City Council. It is great to see both of you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Laura. Happy Thanksgiving.
Let's start with you, Andy, on this. I personally am really grateful that we have President Trump in office, that Hillary is not president, that we have an economy that looks like it's in the midst of a real recovery, not a anemic, flatlining recovery as we saw under President Obama. Do you agree with that, or am I kind of looking at things way too optimistically at this point?
Well, Laura, first of all, happy Thanksgiving. When I met Donald Trump in 1973, a mutual friend called to ask us to have dinner. He is the exact same person as he was then. And isn't it refreshing to have someone who is really honest and says what he thinks? Sure, occasionally he may put his foot in his mouth, but I think that he's done so well. The economy is really strong. I mean, this is $2 trillion that is in the pocket of working men and women. We defeated ISIS in Raqqa, and there's no more talk about a caliphate. He's reduced all these regulations. I think he's doing a terrific job. And, when I first endorsed him in the Wall Street Journal in September of 2016, the people in Manhattan, everywhere I'd go, would say, how could you do that? He's this, he's that. I mean, you have no idea. You played Steve Ratner, some of these other people.
Oh, no.
They went insane. But the truth is that Trump is an extremely caring, sensitive guy. When my father was sick and dying, he would call a couple times a week to see how he was. The same with Bob Kraft's wife. The same with David Friedman, our ambassador.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't know that about him, Andy. A lot of people don't know that about him. Quinn, I know you weren't a big fan, to say the least, of Donald Trump during the primary. You didn't want him to be the nominee. Well, now he's been president for 11 months. The economic rebound that even some of his harshest critics have to admit is here. What do you think now? Are you grateful that Hillary's not president? Or are you still kind of on the fence about how Trump's stewarding the economy?
Oh, of course I'm grateful that Hillary is not president. That was never in question. I never wanted her. I fought her for 25 years. I still remain a critic of Trump personally. I think his tweets are not refreshing. I think they are horrendous. But you mentioned the economy. And while I think it's foolish to give him all the credit for the good economy, it would also be absolutely unfair not to give him a significant amount of credit.
Hey, Quinn,
for the economy.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we only have a limited time. I want to get you on this Roy Moore thing, because I know you, like myself, were hoping that Mo Brooks, who was in that special election, that runoff, might have been the nominee. Are you grateful that Alabama voters might have a write-in candidate, or what are you hopeful that there will be another choice here?
Well, I think there's a very large number of Alabamans who wish we had another choice right now. That I would say certainly a plurality of Alabamans are unhappy that we face this uncertain and tawdry election when we haven't had time to get to the bottom of things. We don't know what the truth is. This is not a good situation. On the other hand, as you say, the Republican voters in Alabama did choose Roy Moore, and when they chose Roy Moore, they knew that the left would be coming at him with everything they had. And so, you know, we sort of asked whether Moore deserves this or not, whether it's true or not. We knew it was coming.
I want to play a quick soundbite for you guys. This is from a compilation, 3 different voices on where the Republican Party stands today vis-a-vis the Democrats, all these allegations coming out. Let's watch.
You win this seat, this Senate seat for Roy Moore. It's a Pyrrhic victory because you will be saddled, as you all have just said, as the party of a pedophile for the rest of Roy Moore's term.
In that case, you get the worst of all worlds, where you get you lose the seat, and you've lost it in the process. In the process of losing it, you've ended up becoming the party of pedophiles, which is a double whammy on what the president's trying to pull off here.
The big question that we haven't gotten to yet is this the beginning of the end of the Republican Party?
Oh, my God. How many times, Andy, I know you're kind of a registered Democrat, but how many times have we heard, is this the beginning of the end of the Republican Party? I remember hearing that when I was in college, when Reagan was president, believe it or not. Andy, your quick reaction there.
Well, I think that Trump has done great. The economy is strong. Our military is strong. And I think that this is a beginning for the Republican Party. I think there's going to be an alignment with the Republicans are going to be the party, like it was under Reagan, of working class men and women. By the way, I had dinner with Sinatra several times with Don Rickles. And by the way, just in a small, just the 3 of us, he was the same way he was on The Tonight Show with Frank.
All right, but both of you, it's great to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. And straight ahead on this Ingraham Angle special, why the investigation around Uranium One and Hillary Clinton is about to heat up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Stay with us. Welcome back. Could Republicans soon be grateful for a Clinton comeuppance? Last night on the Ingraham Angle, Congressman Matt Gaetz hinted that we might be getting some bombshell news about Hillary Clinton sometime soon.
I am immediately calling for an investigation into the special treatment that the FBI gave Hillary Clinton, and particularly in this email scandal. Hillary Clinton was treated differently than any other American would be treated, and as a member of the Judiciary Committee, I want answers from the FBI about how we can stop this type of special treatment for politicians in the future.
Well, there's always 2 standards, one for everybody else and one for the Clintons. Well, the GOP certainly would be grateful to see another investigation into Hillary's emails or that Uranium One scandal. And that's the one where, of course, the critics allege that corrupt donations to the Clinton Foundation influenced Hillary's State Department to be one of those member parties who approved the sale of about 20% of America's uranium capacity to what ended up being a Russian-backed company. Joining us now for a reaction is the one, the only Sarah Carter, who is a national security correspondent for Circa News. Sarah, there is a lot out there still swirling about the Clintons, about the Obama administration's acquiescence and approval of this Uranium One sale. What do you make of what Congressman Gaetz is getting at? He and Jim Jordan are going to announce something next week.
That's right. I think that what we're seeing here is that the FBI designated Hillary Clinton's case, the email server case, a special, right? A special investigation. They were handling it differently than they handled everything else. Now, people have debated, did that mean a major investigation? I know I've heard some issues coming out about that, but no, this was a special. And I think that they have a point here. Gaetz, Jordan, and others like DeSantis, and certainly the Senate Judiciary, want to know, why did they designate this a special? What made her so special as compared to every other investigation? And remember, it was the FBI's decision to shut down that server investigation. It was up to the Justice Department, not to Comey, not to former FBI Director Comey. So what was going on there, and what was the relationship between the Deputy Director, who's still there?
I want to talk about him because a lot of our viewers here hear this name bandied about, but we have to be very clear on who we're talking about. Andrew McCabe, who has been at the FBI for years and years. And you think, well, faithful civil servant, deputy FBI director. But there's more to the Andrew McCabe story than meets the eye. Give us the thumbnail.
Thumbnail's this. He's under 3 federal inquiries right now. One for violation of the Hatch Act. The second investigation is with the Inspector General at the Department of Justice for not disclosing on his ethics forms his donations his wife got, actually from 2 PACs connected to Terry McAuliffe and Hillary Clinton for $700,000.
No, whoa. His wife was running for state senate, and
correct.
She got $700K from 2 McAuliffe, meaning Hillary, because Hillary
are like this. So you got 2 PACs, right, connected to Terry McAuliffe, both connected to Hillary Clinton, giving $700,000. Now, this was first reported by the Wall Street Journal last year. Yeah. But let's go a little bit further. Terry McAuliffe was also under investigation by the FBI for campaign contributions during that same time. By the way, we don't know where that investigation went, but that investigation just disappeared off the planet. Nobody has been able to figure this out. For contributions he received actually from a former Chinese legislator who happened to have residency in the United States and cut him a check for $120,000 through his own business. So this is how muddled this all is. And there's a lot of questions as to McCabe's involvement in this case.
And McCabe is still there.
McCabe is still there, and we found out just recently because Judicial Watch thankfully FOIA'd a ton of documents.
Freedom of Information Act request. And let me say, one of the many things I'm grateful for your reporting, Sarah, and I'm grateful for Judicial Watch because they did the legal work to file the Freedom of Information Act requests, without which we would have not understood a lot of these machinations behind the scenes that led to the slow walking of this investigation, the special designation of the Hillary investigation, ultimately the shutdown of the investigation.
Absolutely right. I am so grateful that you brought that up because we have to thank Judicial Watch and other organizations who FOIA these information. What we found out just this past week is that McCabe did not really recuse himself from the server investigation until a week before the presidential elections.
As his wife was getting contributions from one of Hillary Clinton's best friends' related PACs. Now, McAuliffe will say, oh, I don't run the PACs. They're separate from me. But they're PACs that existed to support his political endeavors, correct?
Absolutely, and very closely connected, right, to Hillary Clinton. And then you know that right now it's still under investigation by the Office of Special Counsel whether or not McCabe violated Hatch Act rules. He went to meet with McAuliffe. He was at a lot of his wife's events. Now, I've just got off the phone with FBI, former and current FBI. They said if they would have ever done this, they would have had it handed to them. They would have violated what they have been told ever since the Academy in Quantico. You do not get involved in political campaigns. You stay biased. You stay out of it.
Yeah.
You say unbiased. Yeah,
they stayed biased.
Yeah, but apparently there are a few that remain biased. But you stay unbiased. You stay out of any kind of political activity. And they're saying, wait a minute, is there 2 sets of rules here? One for the officials and one for the guys on the ground?
I still don't understand how Hillary Clinton was interviewed by the FBI the weekend of 4th of July. Comey wasn't there, but Cheryl Mills was, and there's no transcript of it.
No transcript of that meeting. And remember,
she's a witness.
And remember,
she gets immunity.
Absolutely. Remember, just 2 days before she gets interviewed, Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch are meeting on the tarmac in Phoenix, and we still don't know what they were talking about.
Oh, they were just sharing horoscopes. Come on, Sarah. We're grateful for you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and come back soon.
Oh, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else.
All right. And we come back straight ahead. Are you dreading discussing politics around the Thanksgiving table tomorrow? I want a time out on politics tomorrow, personally. Some of my Fox colleagues, Brett Baer and Shannon Bream, they're going to offer some helpful hints for the tumult and how to avoid it. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Ingraham Angle Special Gratitude in the Age of Trump. And for better and sometimes for worse, let's face it, talking politics at the Thanksgiving table is practically as much of a tradition as the turkey and the pumpkin pie, the mashed potatoes, the gravy. But it's giving many of us some serious heartburn because according to a new poll from NPR and Marist, 58% of Americans say they are positively dreading the prospect of discussing politics during Thanksgiving. That's up 5 points from last year during the the aftermath of the election, and 31% say they're eager to do so tomorrow, but that's a 12-point plunge from last year. Joining us now to analyze two of my favorite people, not just favorite colleagues, but favorite people here at Fox, Shannon Bream, of course, the anchor of the brand new 11 p.m. show on Fox, and Brett Baer, who is wisely already in the balmy weather of Naples, Florida. Brett, I'm so jealous here in Naples already. And I'm sitting in your chair, Brett. I feel nice. Inadequate sitting in this chair because this is your chair, really, but I'm just keeping it warm till you come back. It's great to see both of you. All right, Brett, I want to start with you. Now, Trump is controversial. The divide in the country seems like it's worse than it's been ever before, but I don't know if that's even the case. How do you avoid this maelstrom at the table? What do you do?
Well, I think it's a good question because I think you have to be prepared at the beginning. You have to go in and say you have other topics to talk about, entertainment, sports, the kids, other things. I say stay away from LeVar Ball, The Wall, Roy Moore at all. I think those three things that rhyme, you just stay away from them. But if it goes south, get to the place where you listen more than you get heated. You listen. And then you react calmly. And
maybe, Brett, when you're listening, you just chew, and you make sure you have a big mouthful of food, and you're just chewing and nodding. You know, it's like you have a lot of fights with family fights about other subjects. And Shannon, when sometimes husbands will say, "I'll just say yes, dear, yes, dear." They don't go back. They don't go back. But it is a little thorny because, like a lot of families I know, and certainly in my family, we have some polar opposite views in my family. Like some of my brothers are different politically than I am, and we just don't talk about it. We talk about anything but. Want to play a game of tic-tac-toe. Right. It's uncomfortable.
Listen, I'll be with the in-laws this year, the Breams, and they do like to talk politics. There are a lot of Fox watchers in there.
Oh, thank God. Lucky you.
Listen, I know, exactly. But the tricky thing is they want to talk shop the whole time. And when you're away from work, you want to take it easy, play the tic-tac-toe, stuff your face with stuffing. But they have a lot of questions. And I find that what I end up doing is separating a lot of fact from fiction because they'll hear a story or see something on Facebook, and I'm sort of now deputized as the fake news buster during these Thanksgiving meals and get-togethers because they want to know what's actually been said or not said. I think one of the good strategies, I like Brett's, but I think also something I read that made sense to me, instead of talking about personalities like President Trump, like, Hillary Clinton, whoever, if you talk ideas or policies, that seems to work better for a lot of families instead of getting into the personalities, which seems to immediately put people on one side or the other.
Now, Brett, when you're down in Florida, Naples has there are a lot of Fox fans in Naples, let's face it. It's it's a wonderful place. They love you down there. But it is true what Shannon said. When you want to get away, I know you're a big golfer, you're a big athlete, you want to be with your kids, your beautiful sons and wife, but you want to kind of get away, but you are pulled back into it, right? You just think you're on the golf course, 7th hole, got that perfect tee shot, and then you're, well, what do you think about this, Brett? And what do you do?
It happens all the time. I know it happens to you guys, too. I mean, I was at the grocery store the other day. Somebody stopped and talked to me about tax reform. And, I would say, how's the pineapple? So I think that, listen, when you're talking politics, I do think Shannon's right. To do broad topics and start with the ones that a lot of the different ideologies agree on. Let's say corporate taxes, killing ISIS, figuring out a situation in North Korea. Those are three good ones where most left and right kind of agree.
Now, I want to ask both of you your favorite Thanksgiving memories growing up. And I was saying this on the radio earlier today that, it's never about stuff or presents. For me, it's always about food, music that my mother used to play. She's Polish, so she always played in this little record player we had. She played Polish Christmas carols that I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh, God, can't we hear something else? But now I get teared up when I hear some of that music today. And it's the smells of Thanksgiving and just being together. Brett, what's one of your favorite memories of growing up, Thanksgiving, just being with the family?
So two things. One is my mom grew up having turnips, and I can't stand turnips.
The worst.
But every year we just made them, and they just sat there, and it was just my mom who ate them. But it was part of the tradition. And then the wishbone at the end, pulling it apart, and which person got the bigger part of the bone was got the wish to come true, and I remember that every year.
Shannon?
You know what? I think that Brett's mom should join the Breams because they like turnips also.
What is
That's
it
an
about
acquired
turnip?
taste. I don't know what the deal is, but they like it too.
They have no taste.
I know, but
bitter.
heavily salted. You try to
Yeah.
drown the actual turnip taste. I don't know. They have the taste. I don't. I will say my dad loved frying turkeys. So, you get the vat of the bubbling hot oil, and they do the demonstrations every year, like, don't do this, you'll burn down your whole house and kill everybody.
Yeah.
My dad loved the danger of making the turkey that way. So I always think about that. He also liked fireworks and blowing stuff up and everything. So I think the fried turkey was just part of it.
Now, Brett, do you cook the turkey, or you go out to dinner? You get someone else?
We have officially gone to the going out and having somebody else do the dishes. But I do miss the cooking thing that everybody stands around and cooks. But we have not done it for a number of years.
Well, I think the what I like to hear about is like the brining. People calling in today about we do turkey over an open spit where they're like really rotating the turkey. I mean, this turns into like a virtual Olympic sport at this point. It's
an all-day project.
It's fun. Most thankful for this time of year?
Honestly, I'm a person of faith, and even through some tough times this year, just that I think God is good.
Yeah, God is good. Brett?
Yeah, I think health and the big guy upstairs looking down on us all, and no matter how bad you think things are going to be, we are all resilient, and we should be thankful for that.
And ask for help. Ask for God's help. That's what I do every day. Lord knows I can't do it by myself. But I'm grateful for both of you. Thank you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families, and thanks for everything you do to keep the Fox viewers informed and sometimes entertained. Let's face it. We can be very funny when we want to be.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Brett, happy Thanksgiving. And when we come back, what's getting lost this holiday season, and how sometimes that urge to shop might make us lose out on the important stuff. Stay tuned. Tonight, some thoughts on this eve of Thanksgiving. It's supposed to be a holiday dedicated to our families, our friends, and the ties that bind. It's a holiday where gratitude should, above all else, be placed front and center. But the reality is that in recent years, it's become something far different. A holiday that's been tarnished by never-ending sales on flat-screen TVs, appliances, all manner of jewelry, forcing folks to spend time waiting in line, sometimes for days, instead of cherishing the time they have with their families. Polling shows that the majority of Americans say they're going to shop online this holiday season, with internet sales poised to surpass $100 billion for the first time ever. Sure, that's good for the economy, no doubt. But shouldn't we just dedicate one day to family and giving thanks without having to buy anything? Just take a look at how early these sales start this week. Kohl's, they kicked off at Turkey Day discounts on Monday. Old Navy, knocking 50% off all items beginning today. And by the time Thanksgiving morning rolls around, virtually every major retailer will be back offering Black Friday deals that will bring folks to the store or to their computers before they even have time to prep their meal, let alone clean it up. And that leads me to my next point. Why are stores even open on Thanksgiving at all? I know retailers, they need to sell, and I get it. They make all their money this time of year. It's the biggest season of the year for them. But is it worth the breaking up of families on the one day that some of them spend time together, that one day a year? It's bad enough that consumers are dragged away from their families, but what about the employees who are forced to staff the stores? Just look at this partial list of stores open tomorrow. Kmart is one of the first to open, cracking its doors at 6 a.m. Dollar General, Bass Pro Shops. I love Bass Pro Shops. I love Cabela's, but they're not far behind. And by the end of the day, they'll be joined by JCPenney, Old Navy, Walmart, Target, among many others. Well, I worry that in our haste to buy for everyone on our list, it's going to cause our relationships to fray with the people we love the most. And some things are worth more than the $100 you might save on that widescreen. And in most cases, those doorbuster sales are come-ons to get you to buy some other junk you don't need anyway. How many times have you stood in line for that $200 iPad on Black Friday, only to learn that the sale only applied to the first 5 sold? And it turns out you're the 38th person in line. Read the fine print before you give up the stuff that really matters. The stuff that you're never going to get back and that won't ever go on sale. That's time with friends and family. And part of what drives us into the cold, it makes us want to join those Black Friday blowouts and the Friday mobs, is the thought that we might miss out on a great opportunity. My goodness, we got to get there, we got to drive there, we got to park there. But on Thanksgiving, the biggest opportunity in the world is back home, and it's around the table. So savor this Thanksgiving. Try to celebrate it without wrestling your neighbors over a sales bin. A few things I'm thankful for when we return. Before we go, and as we prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving, it's the perfect opportunity to give thanks to our veterans and the men and women who are currently serving in our armed forces. We just love them. And today's crash of a U.S. Navy plane off Japan delivers a somber reminder of what our troops put on the line every single day for us. Their extraordinary sacrifice, the risk they take to defend this country, is something we all should be grateful for every day, not just tomorrow. Because without it, we're not sitting around the table enjoying that turkey in freedom and security. I want you to know that I'm very grateful for you for tuning into Fox every night to watch all of our great shows. Thank you for trusting us with news reporting and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. And thank you, my family, who put up with me and this crazy schedule I have. And thank us for our freedom and everyone who helped provide it. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and remember that which really matters. Thanks for watching.